there were stones, and then no stone, and then down, where the winter water went. Oh. So twice we fell because he took too much to the side. And I told you the story. I was late to school because after we dropped Rita to school, I had to go to a relative's house to leave my baby sister there while I was at school. And when I came, the teacher said, you have to give 10 cents for the library. And I said, no, I don't have the money. And even if I had, I would not give. He said, go and see the principal. You know the story.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yes. And when I went to the principal, I had never gone for such a bad thing. We always went for doing the best, how do you say? You take a word and you spell it for best spelling, for best poetry reciting. Suddenly I am there for something bad.
Right.
So as I was ashamed looking like this because he was writing something, he said, yes, what can I do? And I said, Mr. So-and-so wants 10 cents from me. And I don't have the money. And even if I had, I wouldn't give because this morning I have the dough. What do you do? The dough?
Kneading the dough.
Knead the dough. And I have taken it to the bakery so that they will do the bread. And when we go after school, I can take it. And I said, look, there are still here dough around my nails.
Right.
I had washed, but it hadn't gone. I showed him. The man wrote a letter. He couldn't even look at me. He said, give this to him. He had tears in his eyes. He gave the note to me and I went to the class and I gave it to him in a triumphant spirit that I am the winner. Mm-hmm. And went and sat in my seat. And from there on, everybody tells me I'm a straight shooter. I don't take blah, blah. All the girls used to tell me that there is a boy who is always looking at me. I hadn't realized it. So I looked and he was looking at me. So I told to the teacher, this boy is constantly looking at me. You know what he said, the boy? What? If he's not looking at me, how would she know that I'm looking at her? Which is true. But
calling you out.
I hadn't seen it. The girls were saying, he's constantly looking at you. Although I was not pretty, but I was full of energy and full of, taking attention from people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember you mentioning, when you were a child that you guys had a summer home.
We used to go to summer. We didn't have a summer home, but we went to the mountains. Not when I was young. We didn't have funds there.
Right.
Because my father couldn't get back his job and my mother doing nursing was hardly able to cope with all the expenses. And, what was your question?
So you went to the mountains during the summer? Like at what age?
When I was married.
Oh, okay.
And, I worked from 8 to 1, 3 to 6. So everybody went to the mountains. In the afternoons, they didn't work, but they started early in the morning. So we rented a place with my husband. And we had neighbors up above us. Ayo, Alec. Okay, pas okay. Tu gădaniți, ce e svor de vzin cădari cu ciperați. Okay. Hima brandy in hednem. He sends you his love.
Oh,
Alec.
Thank you. I receive it.
So what was I going to say?
So you were talking about, so you, when you were married, you would go to the mountains during the summer.
Yes. So we would drive to the mountains, and then the next morning early, we would go to work. And we had a huge balcony in front of us, and above us, the pharmacist used to live with his children. And one day, one of the daughters had PhD from La Verne University, and she was going to talk at the AGBU Center. And as I was sitting in the back, because Rita always sits in the front, and I hate that because I can't see who is talking, who is asking questions, said, "Is Auntie Cecile Keshishian here?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I want to thank you again in front of everyone. You saved my life because the village man was going to kidnap me. You saw me from up the balcony and you scolded him and you ran down."
Really? I don't know if I know that story. What else can you tell me?
She said. She took her PhD and she's teaching in La Verne University, and she came to talk about a subject matter with other people. But when she stood up to talk, that's what she said. Because I'm very well known in the AGBU, Armenian General Benevolent Union.
Right.
And the father, Panos, called me about a month ago and said, "Cecile, we just moved to such and such place in California, and my kids have rented places nearby. So we were talking about you, and Nelly said that she owes her life to you." And I said, I owe my profession to her, because when we came from Beirut, Lebanon to America, I was visiting you and playing backgammon with your husband. And I was asking you too, where you can recommend me to work as an employee, AGBU, this or that. And you said, "Listen, Panos, sit on your buttock and study the exam for a pharmacist. For 30 years, you had your pharmacy in Beirut, Lebanon. You are from the American University of Beirut. You can do it. And don't go and work on somebody else as an employee, as a secretary or something." And for 30 years, I worked as a pharmacist in Glendale, California, because of you. You were the only one who shook me up and said, "Sit and study." My husband was French educated and he learned English. He learned the exam and he passed it. You can do it from yesterday. You know? So I felt pampered.
Yeah. I mean, you've influenced a lot of people.
Because I tell them to their face. And I think before I speak, what Brandy can do. She doesn't sell the brandy. What can she do that I can advise that can be positive, that can be good?
Right.
And by the way, how's your boyfriend?
He's good. I didn't see him for a week because I had this production job with very demanding hours. So, but I had one little, exchange with him because I was Zooming with my sister. And I think I told you that my sister has found love during the pandemic.
Good.
And, but it's been about a year. I think she's just celebrating her 1-year anniversary, but she believes that this woman is
the right one.
Her life partner, you know, that she's finally found her life partner. And so, my sister and I were having a meeting over Zoom with other people, so we couldn't talk about personal things. But my sister was wearing a ring on her ring finger. And I don't think that she got engaged because I think she would, you know, call me immediately to tell me that. I think that maybe it was a gift after the first year. Yeah. But I got to say something to my boyfriend, like, I saw my sister, she's wearing a ring, I got to